Welcome back, my amazing students. So, in example 4, 5, 6, and 7, we are doing the same thing. First of all, if we spot a GCF, we will factor that out. Then after we factor out the GCF, with whatever is remaining in your parenthesis, you're going to ask yourself, can I keep factoring? Now, if we look at example 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, how many terms do all 5 of these example problems have? They all have 3 terms. So let's go back to that chart. Oh, too far. Sorry, guys. Okay, when you have 3 terms, that's when you're going to try to use general factoring, which the way I have taught you to general factor is through slide and divide. So most likely on all these problems, which let's see here, okay, after we factor out the GCF, the factoring technique that will work is general factoring. So think back to when we did all those general factoring problems. We did them at the end of, we did lots of them. So hopefully after we factor out the GCF, it'll kind of just be a review. Okay, well let's get going on example 4. Already excited. Let's do it. Example 4. Okay. So example 4, again, we're going to be factoring completely. So we're going to factor till we can't factor anymore. It's like the best party ever. Factor till you can't factor anymore. And then after that, we're going to try general factoring. But we're always going to try factoring out our GCF first. So don't forget about the GCF. Don't forget. Okay, well let's get started on example 4. So the first thing, I'm going to be on the lookout for the GCF. Do you guys spot a GCF in the problem? Well, what is a number that will divide into 3, 3, and 6? Well, the largest number that will divide into 3, 3, and 6 is 3. And I do not have an x in every single term. I have an x in the first 2 terms, but not the last term. Okay, so my GCF is simply just going to be a 3. Okay, so I'm going to write the 3 on the outside of my parenthesis and divide every single term by the 3. Okay, so 3 divided by 3 will cancel and turn to 1. So I'm left with x squared in the first term. Okay, and then 3x divided by 3, well the 3 divided by 3 will cancel and turn to 1 again. So I'm left with just the 1x. Or x, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I could also call this 1x squared if I wanted to. Okay, and then lastly, negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Okay, but don't forget, okay, after we factor out the GCF, you must ask yourself, can I keep factoring what's in my parenthesis? Okay, so since I have 3 terms and my highest exponent is a 2, which means it's a quadratic, I'm going to try to use general factoring to factor this thing. Okay, which when we use general factoring, the first step is to identify the A, B, and C. What is the A, B, and C? Man, you guys are on it. It is 1 is A because it's in front of the x squared. 1 is the B because it's in front of the x. And negative 2 is the C because it's the number without the x. Okay? And then after that, we want to try to find 2 numbers that will multiply to be A times C. Or remember, we slide A to C, which means we multiply. So 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Okay, and then I want to also find a number that will add to be B, which B is 1. Okay, which don't forget, you guys, since I have a negative number that I'm trying to multiply to equal, okay, what kind of numbers will multiply to equal a negative? Correct, you guys. It is a positive times a negative. Okay, a positive times a negative equals a negative. So I already know that one of these values should be positive and one should be negative. I already know. Okay? Which the only things that multiply to be 2 are 2 and 1. So either 2 is negative or 1 is negative. So let's see here. The way that you find out is what they add to equal. So if 2 is negative, that would be negative 2 and positive 1, which positive 1 and negative 2, if you combine those, will equal a negative 1. So that's not going to work. Okay, so the combination that will work is a positive 2 and a negative 1, because 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, And 2 plus a negative 1, which means 2 minus 1, is 1. So there we go. Okay, we have found our numbers, and once you find the numbers out, you're going to slide those bad boys down into your parenthesis. So since I have a positive 2, it's going to be a plus 2. And since I have a negative 1, it's going to be a minus 1. And don't forget, you guys, with general factoring or slide and divide, you must divide these numbers by what you slide over. Okay, so I slide over a, which a is 1, which means I'm going to divide by a, which is 1. And then after this, I'm just going to simplify this down. Okay, so x plus 1, or x, sorry, 2 over 1 is 2, so this would be x plus 2. And negative 1 divided by 1 is negative 1. Okay, but before we circle our answer, don't forget about your bestie GCF. Don't forget about it. It's right in front, so I'm going to slide my GCF to the very front of my problem. Okay, so whenever you have a GCF, you always write it at the very front of your factored form. And guess what, you guys? That would be it for this problem. So we factored out the GCF, and then we just factored using slide and divide. Nice work, everyone.